The November heat shimmered across the vast expanse of West Texas as Sheriff Jake Morrison pulled his patrol car up to the rusted gate of the abandoned Weatherby Ranch. It was a scorching afternoon in 2005, and the phone call he'd just received was about to change everything. After 15 years of silence, the case of Samuel Weatherby was finally about to reveal its secrets. The young ranch hand who'd found something in the old well was already waiting by the weathered fence post. His name was Carlos Mendez, and his hand still shook as he pointed toward the stone well that sat like a monument to forgotten times in what used to be the ranch's backyard. Around the well, mesquite and prickly pear had grown wild, and the ancient stones were covered with desert moss and creeping vines that seemed to have been growing there for centuries. Jake remembered that day like it was yesterday. On November 21st, 1990, Samuel Weatherby, the 47-year-old homesteader who'd been working this piece of hardscrabble land for over 2 decades, had vanished without a trace. It was during the time when many small ranchers were struggling to make ends meet, when droughts and economic pressures were forcing families off land that had been in their bloodlines for generations. Samuel had gone out to check his cattle near the old creek bed. He never came back. For weeks, search parties combed the endless Texas landscape. State troopers, local volunteers, even helicopter crews from San Antonio had scoured every arroyo, every canyon, every hidden spot where a man might disappear in this unforgiving country. But West Texas was vast and merciless, full of abandoned mine shafts, hidden caves, and places where a person could vanish and never be found. After a month of searching, the case went cold. Samuel Weatherby was declared dead in absentia. His family never stopped hoping. Samuel's wife, Mary, had come to the sheriff's office every year on the anniversary, asking if there were any new leads. Their children, Tom and Sarah, had grown up with stories about their father and questions that had no answers. The ranch had been sold to pay debts, and the family had moved to Dallas, but they never forgot the mystery of what happened to Samuel. Now, as Jake examined the old stone well in the abandoned ranch yard, he knew they were finally going to learn the truth. Carlos had told him over the phone that while clearing brush for a new property owner, he'd found something in the well that shouldn't have been there. "What exactly did you find down there?" Jake asked. Carlos swallowed hard and approached the edge of the well. "I'll show you, but it's strange, Sheriff. Real strange." They both peered down into the depths of the well. The water was only a few feet down, much higher than it should have been in an old well this far out in the desert. But what amazed them both wasn't the water level. Floating in the clear water, perfectly preserved by the cool and darkness beneath the earth, was a metal container. It wasn't rusted, didn't appear damaged. It looked like it had been placed there recently. "How did you spot it?" Jake asked. "I was using a powerful flashlight to check if the well was safe for cleaning. I saw something metallic gleaming down there, didn't look like it belonged." Jake called in a dive team from Austin. By that afternoon, the metal container had been pulled from the water. It was heavy, made from some strange alloy that didn't seem to have been affected by water or time at all. On the lid of the container were engraved symbols that didn't look like anything from around these parts, or even anything from this country. They looked more like ancient runes, or maybe something even older than that. "We need to open this at the lab," Jake decided. But in his gut, he knew that whatever they found inside was going to change everything he thought he knew about Samuel Weatherby's disappearance. 2 days later at the forensics lab in Austin, the container was carefully opened. Inside were 3 items that shouldn't have existed: a journal written in Samuel's hand, a photograph that seemed to move when you looked at it too closely, and a small crystal sphere that emanated a faint blue light. The first item Jake examined was the journal. Samuel's handwriting was unmistakable. The family had confirmed it, but what he'd written seemed to come from a nightmare. November 20th, 1990. "I saw the lights in the desert again last night. Mary says I'm imagining things, but I know what I saw. They move across the landscape like lanterns, but they don't cast shadows and they don't flicker, and they're too high off the ground to be carried by people." November 21st, morning, going to check the cattle near the old creek bed. "For the past few nights, some haven't been coming back to the barn. I keep finding their tracks leading off toward the Badlands, toward places where I don't dare go alone." November 21st, noon. "The cattle aren't where they should be. Their tracks lead deeper into the desert toward the old ruins on Devil's Ridge. I've heard the stories the Comanche elders tell about that place, but I never believed them. Now I'm not so sure." Jake stopped reading and looked at the case files from 1990. Indeed, at the edge of the desert, there were ruins of what appeared to be an ancient settlement. According to historical documents, it had been built in the 16th century, and abandoned after a mysterious fire in 1698. Since then, locals had avoided it. The journal continued. November 21st, afternoon. I reached the ruins on Devil's Ridge. The stones are older than they look during the day. They're covered with the same kind of symbols I've seen carved on rocks near the old Apache camping grounds. Symbols that my grandfather told me never to touch, never to look at too long. My cattle are here, all of them, but they're not normal. They stand in perfect circles around large stones and they don't move when I approach. Their eyes aren't cattle eyes anymore. They're something completely different. And I'm not alone here. They're here too. I can see them clearly now in the daylight. They're not people, though at first I thought they were. They're tall, with gray-green skin and eyes that glow like embers. They remember me. They recognize me. Jake stopped reading. Who were they? And what did he mean by they remember? He continued reading. Now I understand why my grandfather had those symbols carved around our property. Why my grandmother always came to clean them and keep them covered with dirt. They weren't for decoration. They were for protection. Protection against them. But the protection has lost its power. The symbols around our land have worn away over time, and the people who knew how to renew them have died. Grandfather, then grandmother. I never knew what they really meant. Now they've come to take back what was theirs long ago. This land was never really ours. We were just caretakers for a while, and that time has ended. Jake felt a cold shiver. He continued reading. They speak to me in a language I don't understand with my mind, but I understand with something deeper inside me. They tell me they are the true ancestors of this land, that they lived here millennia before humans appeared, that they retreated underground when humans became too numerous, but now it's time for them to return. They ask me if I want to come with them, to see the world beneath, to understand the secrets they've kept for so long. They promise me knowledge, power, eternal life. Part of me wants to run, but another part, a part I didn't understand until now, wants to stay, wants to learn the truth. I have a decision to make. Go back home to Mary and the kids, and try to forget what I've seen here. Or follow this path and find out what really lies beneath the Texas soil. The journal ended abruptly there. Jake turned to the strange photograph from the container. It was a black and white image, but with startling clarity. It showed Samuel standing in front of the ruins on Devil's Ridge. But behind him, among the ruined stones, you could see tall humanoid figures with glowing eyes. And when Jake looked at the photograph too closely, he had the impression that the figures were moving. The third item from the container, the crystal sphere, was the most mysterious. It was warm to the touch and emanated a light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. When Jake held it in his palm, he had fleeting visions, images of vast underground tunnels, enormous caverns, and glowing beings moving in the darkness. Dr. Patricia Wells, an expert in archaeology from the University of Texas, was called in to examine the items. When she saw the symbols on the container and the crystal sphere, her face went pale. "Where did you find these?" she asked with a trembling voice. "In a well on an abandoned ranch near Devil's Ridge." "Why? Do you recognize them?" Dr. Wells opened an old book from her library. She showed them illustrations from Native American manuscripts. These symbols appear in several ancient texts from the Southwest. They're associated with legends about the underground people, beings who supposedly lived in the depths of the earth before humans settled here. The chronicles say these beings retreated to tunnels and caves when European colonization came to the area, but that they still influence the world above through those who serve them. And this crystal sphere? In the old texts, it's called the Truth Stone. It's said to allow communication between the upper world and the lower world. But these are just legends. They shouldn't actually exist. That night, Jake returned to the abandoned Weatherby Ranch. He wanted to see Devil's Ridge with his own eyes, the ruins Samuel had written about in his journal. He took a powerful flashlight and the crystal sphere, which still emanated its mysterious blue light. The desert was unnaturally quiet. Not even a coyote howled, though there was wind in the distance. As he approached the ruins on Devil's Ridge, the crystal sphere in his backpack began to pulse faster and grow warmer. The ruins were more extensive than the historical documents suggested. Stone walls stretched across a large area, and in the center was a crypt that descended deep into the earth. On the surrounding stones were carved the same symbols as on the metal container. Jake descended into the crypt. The walls were covered with paintings that seemed to move in the flashlight beam. They didn't depict biblical scenes as you'd expect in a religious site. They showed tall, luminous beings emerging from the earth, meeting humans who prostrated themselves before them. At the bottom of the crypt was an opening in the wall that seemed to lead into a natural tunnel. The crystal sphere in Jake's hand now emanated such powerful light that he no longer needed the flashlight. The moment he stepped into the tunnel, he heard the voice. It wasn't a human voice, but somehow he understood every word. "Jake Morrison, we've been waiting for you." "Who are you?" he asked into the tunnel's darkness. "I am the one who called Samuel Weatherby, and now I'm calling you." The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It was feminine in nature, but with a resonance that made the tunnel walls vibrate. "Come closer. Let me show you the truth about what happened to the Homesteader." Jake found himself walking through the tunnel without realizing he was moving his feet. The crystal sphere guided him, its light growing stronger as he descended deeper underground. He arrived in a natural cavern of enormous size. The walls were covered with crystals that reflected the sphere's light, creating a spectacular display of colors that took his breath away. And in the center of the cavern, standing on a raised crystal platform, was a being that could not be mistaken for human. She was over 7 feet tall, with skin that glowed with a subtle greenish light. Her face was humanoid, but with features too perfect, too symmetrical to be natural. Her eyes were such an intense blue that they seemed to emit light. "I am Zara, keeper of knowledge from the depths, keeper of the memories of this land from before humans." "Samuel, what happened to Samuel?" The being smiled, and her smile was both beautiful and terrifying. "Samuel Weatherby chose to join us. He chose to learn the truths we've guarded for millennia. He is here, in the depths, learning the secrets of the ancient earth. And is he alive? Life, death, these are concepts of those above. Here, in the depths, there is something else. There is pure knowledge, pure existence. Samuel has transcended the limitations of human flesh." Zara raised her hand, and a holographic image appeared in her palm. It was Samuel, but not Samuel as Jake knew him from the case photographs. This Samuel was the same height and build, but his skin glowed with a subtle light and his eyes had become deep blue. He remembers his life above, but now he understands that was just preparation. Now he lives the true life, in the depths, with us. "Why are you showing me this? Why did you let me find the container?" "Because it's time. Time for humans to understand that they are not alone on this earth, that others existed before them and that these others are preparing to return to the surface." A cold shiver ran through Jake. "What does that mean?" "It means the old agreements are about to expire. The agreements we made with the first human settlers in Texas. They promised they would keep the secret about us, that they would respect our sacred places, that they would live in harmony with nature. In return, we retreated to the depths and let them populate the surface. And now humans have broken their promises. They've forgotten the agreements, destroyed the sacred places, polluted the land and water. It's time for us to return and take back control of this territory." Zara gestured with her hand, and the cavern walls filled with images. People in modern cities, smoking factories, clear-cut forests, polluted rivers. "But we don't want war. We want to offer humans a choice, just as we offered Samuel, to join us and learn to live in harmony with the ancient earth, or to leave this region and let us repair it. And if they refuse?" Zara didn't answer with words. Instead, the images on the walls changed. They now showed empty cities, covered with vegetation. They showed people fleeing, frightened by things they didn't understand. They showed a world where nature reclaimed its rights by force. You, Jake Morrison, have been chosen to carry this message to the surface, to tell humans what's coming, to give them the chance to choose. Why me? Because you found the container, because you hold the truth stone in your hand, because you came here without being forced, by your own will to learn the truth. Jake looked at the crystal sphere in his hand. It still pulsed with blue light, but now he understood it wasn't just a stone. It was something alive, something that held memories and knowledge from very ancient times. What do I need to do? Return to the surface. Tell the authorities what you've seen here. Prepare humans for what's coming. In 3 months, at the winter solstice, we begin returning to the surface. Those who want to stay must prove their respect for the ancient land. Those who don't will have to leave. What about Samuel? Will he ever return to his family? Zara thought for a moment. Samuel can say goodbye to his family if he wishes, but he cannot return to his old life. He's seen too much, learned too much. His transformation is permanent. At that moment, a familiar figure stepped from the shadows of the cavern. It was Samuel, but as the holographic image had shown him, his skin glowed with a subtle light. His eyes were deep blue and his movements seemed to defy gravity. "Jake, he said in a voice that sounded like it came from underwater. "Tell Mary that I found the answers I was searching for all my life. Tell her I'm not dead, just different." "Samuel, what happened to you?" "I saw the truth about this world. I understood that what we call reality is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface of this earth exist civilizations, knowledge, powers that humans can't even imagine." Samuel extended his hand toward Jake. When they touched, Jake felt an electric shock that traversed his entire body. Suddenly, his mind filled with images, tunnels extending beneath all of Texas, underground cities populated by luminous beings, crystal libraries that held the knowledge of millions of years. "Do you see? This is the real world. The surface is just where the young and uninitiated try to understand existence, but those who are ready can descend into the depths and learn the true mysteries." Jake pulled back his hand, feeling dizzy from what he'd seen. "Why did you leave the container in the well?" "So someone would find it when the time was right. The truth stone guided me to put it there, knowing that you would be the one to discover it. Everything was planned long ago." Zara approached again. "It's time for you to return, Jake Morrison. You have a mission to fulfill. But before you leave, you'll take with you proof of what you've seen here." She gave him a small metal plate covered with symbols, similar to the one found on the container. "Show this to those in leadership. Tell them it's both a warning and an invitation. Those who want to learn more can come to the ruins on Devil's Ridge on the night of the solstice. They'll be expected." Jake took the metal plate. It was warm and seemed to vibrate slightly. "What if nobody believes me? The truth stone you carry will confirm your words. Anyone who touches it will see your memories, will feel what you felt here." Samuel approached for the last time. "Jake, tell Mary I love her and will always love her. Tell the kids their father didn't die but found a way to transcend the limits of normal life. And tell them that if they ever want to truly understand what they are and where they come from, they can come look for me in the depths." "Goodbye, Samuel." "It's not goodbye, Jake. It's a beginning." Without realizing how, Jake found himself back in the crypt of the ruins, then on the path through the desert, then at his patrol car. The crystal sphere in his backpack still emanated its blue light, and the metal plate in his pocket was warm and vibrating slightly. When he returned to Austin, it was almost dawn. He knew he had to report what he'd experienced, but he also knew nobody would believe him without proof. First, he returned to Mary Weatherby. The woman, now 55 years old, lived in a small apartment in Dallas with her adult children. When Jake told her he had news about Samuel, her eyes filled with tears. Is he dead?" she asked with a trembling voice. "Not in the way we understand death," Jake replied, "but he can't return to the life he lived before." He told her the whole story, from finding the container in the well to meeting Samuel in the depths. Mary listened with an expression that went from disbelief to understanding. "I knew something wasn't normal about that land," she said finally. "Samuel's grandfather told me stories when I was young about the underground people, and about how his family had kept that land for generations through agreements with beings from the depths. I thought they were just stories to put children to sleep." Jake gave her the crystal sphere. "Samuel said if you touch this, you'll be able to see him and hear his message." Mary took the sphere with trembling hands. The moment she touched it, her eyes widened, and she began to cry. "Samuel, Samuel, I can hear him. He's telling me he's okay, that he found the answers he was looking for. He's telling me he loves me and that I shouldn't be sad for him." She held the crystal sphere in her palms for 10 minutes, speaking in whispers with Samuel. When she finally returned it to Jake, her face was serene. "I'll let him go," she said. "If this is his path, then so be it. But the children need to know the truth." Tom and Sarah, Samuel's 2 children, now adults, witnessed this meeting. Both touched the crystal sphere and spoke with their father. When it was over, Tom said, "I want to see him. I want to go with him to the depths." Jake warned him, "If you do that, you can't come back." Samuel said the transformation is permanent. Tom thought for a moment, then smiled. "All my life I've felt like I didn't really belong to this world, like I was made for something more. Maybe this is my chance to understand what I really am." In the weeks that followed, Jake reported to his superiors what he'd discovered. Reactions varied, from complete disbelief to deep concern. The crystal sphere was tested by scientists who couldn't explain its composition or the source of its light. Dr. Wells became very interested in the case. She did additional research in the archives of Texas museums and discovered documents that confirmed Jake's story. In a manuscript from the 17th century, found at the Institute of Texan Cultures in San Antonio. It read, "The underground people came to our settlement leader on the night of the solstice and asked for the old agreements to be renewed. They said they remembered the promises made by the first Christian settlers and would respect these promises as long as humans respected theirs. But they warned that when humans forgot about God and nature, the agreements would cease to exist." Another document from the Weatherby family archives mentioned, "Our family is the keeper of the agreement on the lands near Devil's Ridge. In each generation, one of ours must understand and respect the symbols of protection. If these are forgotten or neglected, the underground people will return to reclaim the land." As the winter solstice approached, Jake began receiving reports of strange phenomena throughout West Texas. Lights moving through the desert, strange sounds coming from caves, animals behaving unusually. A week before the solstice, Jake returned to the ruins on Devil's Ridge. This time he wasn't alone. Mary and Tom Weatherby had come with him, as well as Dr. Wells and 2 state troopers. The crypt was more illuminated than last time. The tunnel leading to the depths now emanated a blue light, and the air in it was warm despite the December cold. When the group descended into the tunnel toward the cavern, Zara was waiting for them. Beside her stood Samuel, and behind them could be seen silhouettes of other luminous beings. "You've come to witness the renewal of the agreements," Zara said. "This is good. It means there are still humans who understand the importance of these things." Samuel approached his family. Mary began to cry when she saw him, but they were tears of joy, not sadness. "Mary, my love," he said in his transformed voice, "I'm sorry I made you suffer for so long, but I had no way to explain what was happening to me without frightening you." He turned to Tom. "My son, if you truly want to come with me, know that you'll see wonders that humans don't even dream of, but you'll have to give up everything you've known until now." Tom didn't hesitate. "I'm ready, Dad." Zara approached Dr. Wells. "You are the one who studies the past. Do you want me to show you the real past of these lands?" Dr. Wells, though frightened, was also fascinated. "Yes, I want to see." Zara touched Dr. Wells's forehead with a finger, and the woman collapsed to her knees, breathless. Her eyes widened as she saw images from the distant past, underground civilizations that existed thousands of years before humans, technologies based on crystals and natural energy, beings who lived in perfect harmony with the planet. When the vision ended, Dr. Wells remained speechless for several minutes. It's incredible," she said finally. "The history we know is just a fraction of the true history of this earth." Zara turned to Jake. "And you, Jake Morrison, you've fulfilled your mission. You've brought those who needed to come. Now you have a decision to make. Do you come with us to the depths to learn the true mysteries of existence, or do you stay on the surface to be our messenger in the world of humans?" Jake thought about his family, his life on the surface, the responsibilities he had. "I want to remain your messenger," he said, "to help humans understand they don't need to fear you, that you can coexist in peace." Zara smiled. "Wisdom. The world needs bridges between the depths and the surface. You will be one of these bridges." She gave him a larger crystal sphere that emanated a more powerful light. "This will allow you to communicate with us whenever you need to, and it will help other humans understand the truth when the time is right." Tom approached his mother for a final embrace. "Don't be sad, Mom. I'm not losing myself, I'm finding myself." He placed his hand on Zara's shoulder, and immediately his skin began to glow with a subtle light. His eyes became deep blue, like his father's. "Wow," he said in a voice that was beginning to take on that underwater resonance. "I can feel everything. I can feel the planet itself, all the living things on it, all the energies moving through it." Dr. Wells watched the process with a researcher's attention. "It's evolution," she said. "It's not death or supernatural transformation. It's the next step in human evolution." Zara confirmed. "Correct. Those in our civilization took the same journey thousands of years ago. We evolved beyond the limitations of basic body and mind, and became one with the planet's energy. Now we offer humans this same opportunity." Samuel took Tom's and Zara's hands. "It's time to go, but it's not goodbye forever. We'll always be connected to you." The 3 beings began to rise from the ground, floating toward tunnels in the upper part of the cavern. As they disappeared into the darkness, their voices echoed, "Tell humans that the time of change has come, that they can choose to join us in evolution, or they can continue on the path of destruction, but they can no longer ignore the truth. They can no longer pretend they're alone on this earth. Jake, Mary, and the two troopers returned to the surface in silence. Each was trying to process what they'd seen. Dr. Wells would spend the rest of her life studying and documenting this encounter. She would become one of the first people to publicly accept the existence of underground civilization and advocate for cooperation with it. Mary would live in peace, knowing her husband and son were happy and had found their place in the world. She would also become a supporter of the new agreements between humans and the beings from the depths, and Jake would dedicate the rest of his career to building bridges between the two worlds. With the help of the crystal sphere, he was able to organize secret meetings between representatives of the Texas government and emissaries from the depths. Gradually, protected zones were established in West Texas, places where beings from the depths could return to the surface without being disturbed, and where humans could learn from them about sustainable ways of living. Not all humans accepted these changes. There were protests, demonstrations, even attempts to destroy the protected zones. But for every person who opposed, another was fascinated and wanted to learn more. Today, 20 years after those events, West Texas has become a model for coexistence between surface and underground civilizations. Special schools teach children about the true history of the planet, about natural energy, and about how to live in harmony with the environment. Samuel and Tom still come to the surface from time to visit their family and help establish new agreements. They are now ambassadors between the two worlds. And in the town near Devil's Ridge, the old Weatherby Ranch has become a center for learning and cultural exchange. The well where it all began is now a sanctuary, and its water has healing properties that scientists are still studying. Jake, now 55 years old, still has the crystal sphere that Zara gave him. Every night before going to bed, he holds it in his palms and talks with his friends from the depths, planning the next steps toward a future where all intelligent beings on the planet can live together in peace. The story of Samuel Weatherby's disappearance ended with the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. It wasn't a tragedy, but a transformation. Not a loss, but an evolution. And in the depths of West Texas, in the tunnels and caverns that few humans have ever seen, the civilization that existed before all other civilizations continues to grow and prosper, waiting for the day when all of humanity will be ready to take the next step in its evolution. Maybe that day isn't yet near, but it's certainly coming. And when it comes, those who have learned to remember the old agreements, those who have learned to respect the earth and all its living things, will be ready to receive a knowledge and wisdom that will transform the world. For in the depths of Texas, where time is measured in millennia and not in years, patience is a virtue that all beings learn. And those there know that one day, all the inhabitants of the planet will realize they are one family, one consciousness, one life manifesting in infinite forms. Until then, they wait and watch, and when the right moment comes, they extend a hand of friendship to those on the surface who are ready to receive it. The story hasn't ended. It has just begun.